Hello everyone, it's Becca from Becca Books and Bujo, and today we are talking about all of the books I read in September. I read 11 things in September. It was a pretty good reading month. I took part in 2 different readathons, in Season-a-thon Academy and in Series September. I was able to get a tic-tac-toe, just one, in Series September, and was able to take all 5 of my classes for Season-a-thon Academy, so I would say that those were successful readathons. As far as stats go, I read 3,819 pages in those 11 books. For genre, 4 of them were contemporary, 1 was a historical fiction, 2 were romance, 2 were sci-fi, whoa crazy, and 2 were thrillers. As far as the audience that these books were geared toward, 8 of them were adult, 2 were young adult, and 1 was a middle grade. Lastly, the format that I consumed these books in, 4 were strictly physical, 6 were audio, and 1 was a combination between physical and audio. My average rating for the month was a 4.13. I feel like my average rating has been above a 4 every single month, which is really, really great. That means I'm reading books that I'm loving. Okay, let's jump into the books. Here they are. We're going to talk about them. I think I'm going to talk about the 2 books that I read in September that were for a reading vlog. That was my final favorite booktubers favorites vlog. I will link that up above. But those books were Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir and Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. I talk about my thoughts for those books in that vlog, so I'd recommend, if you want to hear more in-depth thoughts, check out that vlog. But I will tell you here that my ratings were 5 stars for both of them. Project Hail Mary was actually my favorite book of the month. It was phenomenal, amazing. The audiobook experience was wonderful and such a great story. Kindred was also a great story. Those were my 2 sci-fis for the month. Kindred, I would say, is a sci-fi / historical fiction, which I really, really enjoyed. That was my first Octavia E. Butler, and now I might want to try some more of her works, but again, those 2 books were phenomenal. The next 2 I'm going to talk about are 2 in a series, in the Spy Family series by Tatsuya Endo. We've got volume 6 and 7, which I read toward the beginning of the month for Series September. Just wanted to get farther in this series, and I will tell you I liked 7 more than 6. No. I liked 6 more than 7. They're bleeding together, all of these volumes. But if you don't know the Spy Family series, it is about a spy named Twilight, and he, for one of his missions, has to create a fake family, and so his wife, that he fake marries, is an assassin, but Twilight doesn't know that, and then his daughter that he adopts is a telepath. So we just follow this family as Twilight tries to complete this mission, which involves his daughter in a private school. I liked, I think in volume 6, there was this funny tennis match that I really, really liked. I enjoy tennis, and it was just kind of hilarious. Volume 7 felt like it was very disjointed. None of the chapters felt like they were working together toward anything, so I just did not enjoy 7 as much as 6. I think I gave 6 4 stars and 7 3 stars. Now how do I want to talk about these? We'll go with lowest rated to highest rated with the next few. My biggest disappointment of the month, and I'm really sad to be putting it at 3.5 stars, but it is The Collected Regrets of Clover by Mickey Bramer. This book is about a death doula, and it even says on the back, death she gets, it's life she can't quite figure out. So this is about Clover. She is a death doula. She helps people as they are dying talk about their lives and how they want to prepare for death and for what other people's lives will be like after their death. I really enjoyed learning about this occupation, about death doulas. I had never really heard of that before, but I do know, just with my dad being a pastor, that there are people who talk to people about dying as they are on their deathbeds, especially with hospice. But I didn't know that there was specifically death doulas. I've heard about birth doulas, but not death doulas. this one, I was hoping that it was just going to make me sob. If you don't know me, I love a book that makes me cry. And this one just didn't quite get there for me. While I enjoyed reading about the various regrets and confessions and advice that people on their deathbed give to Clover, it just didn't quite hit the mark. I thought that there would be one experience for her that would just hit me in a way that would make me attach emotionally, and like I said, it just didn't quite get there. The main story that we follow with Clover is she is hired to sit with an elderly woman who has been given a cancer diagnosis, and she's hired by that woman's grandson. Clover is able to strike up a wonderful relationship with Claudia, the old woman that she's hired to work with. And Claudia is just like, has this great foundation about her and actually does not shy away from the topic of death like so many people do in her family and just in general. I think people don't want to talk about death. It's a taboo topic. So anyway, she is hired by Claudia, but she hears about one of Claudia's regrets, and she decides to do a little research and try to help Claudia resolve that regret before she dies. Yeah, it was sweet. It was good. It kind of was all wrapped up in a little bow at the end, which maybe I wouldn't have wanted for a book that I wanted to rip my heart out. That sounds so weird, but yeah. So there was a lot of great quotes in this one. I'm going to try to find one and read it to you. Oh, I love when people equate grief to something or kind of give us an analogy for grief, and I had never heard this one that Mickey Bramer wrote about. So here it is. Grief was like dust. When you're in the thick of a dust storm, you're completely disoriented by the onslaught, struggling to see or breathe. But as the force recedes and you slowly find your bearings and see a path forward, the dust begins to settle into the crevices, and it will never disappear completely. As the years pass, you'll find it in unexpected places, at unexpected moments. Grief is just love looking for a place to settle. Grief is like dust. It could be like a dust storm where you cannot even breathe in it, and it could be the hardest moments of your life. But also, it can just settle into the crevices, and you might not notice it for a while until it just creeps back up. I really liked that analogy. One big thing I forgot about this story is Clover has only really had a deep relationship with her grandfather. She experienced death really young in life, which is why she became a death doula, but her parents died when she was like 6 years old, so she was raised by her grandfather. She loved her grandfather, but also was pretty isolated from people around her and was kind of a loner, wanted to read books a lot, and didn't make friends easily. So when her grandfather died, she obviously was grieving, and I think that's why that definition of grief comes up. Grief was like dust. But in having discussions with this woman, Claudia, and then also getting to know Claudia's grandson and going on this mission to try to turn over the regret that Claudia had, she was able to open up and decide that she wanted to truly live her life not with regrets. She wanted to not be like these people who were giving their regrets to her. So it was, I mean, a really great concept, and I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. It just didn't, I just wanted it to do more. We're moving up to 4 stars. Like I said, I mean, a really, really great reading month. This is St. Mazie by Jamie Attenberg. This was one of my These Books Will Self-Destruct in 12 months. And I finally got to this one. This one has been on my shelves for years and years. I've moved it multiple times. But this one is about Mazie. She is raised by her much older sister in New York City, and she is kind of a recluse. She doesn't live by the standards that maybe her sister would hold her to, and she decides that she wants to help and love the people who live on the streets. She first encounters poor people and homeless people when she is working at a ticket booth at a theater, and she helps a woman with her young children and kind of just grows this love and passion for helping others. This takes place during the 1930s, during the Depression, and so there are a lot of people in need, and Mazie is able to help them by giving them money, giving them food, just whatever they need help with. I ultimately just loved the compassionate heart of Mazie and the things she did for the people in her city that she loved. So I gave this one 4 stars. Next up, another book that I don't have a physical copy of, that is Lou by Jason Reynolds. This is the 4th and final book in the Track series by Jason Reynolds. In this series, Reynolds writes about 4 different young people who are on a track team. In the first book, it's Ghost. Second book is Patina. Third book is Sunny, and now the 4th book is Lou. I was able to complete a series with reading Lou for Series September, so that was a great feeling of accomplishment. The one thing I love about Jason Reynolds' writing, in everything I've read by him, he is not afraid to talk about deep topics for young adults. In this one, it was about addiction, and I just really appreciated the way he was able to talk about that in a way that middle graders and young adults could understand, but then also how people can get help with addiction. So I really loved that. I don't really want to say too much about the story of Lou other than he lives with his mom and dad. He knows that his dad used to be into drugs, but now his dad has kind of changed his ways and has been sober for a long time. I don't know how long, but has also decided that he wants to help others when they decide they want to change their lives. Another big theme of this book was integrity. I feel like we got that lesson through Lou's dad and also through his coach, just through various situations from their past that have now leaked into this younger generation's lives. So I don't know. It was really enjoyable. I loved this series. I think I gave Ghost 4, Patina 3, Sunny 5, and now Lou 4 stars. So overall, a really, really great series, and one that I would definitely recommend to middle graders who don't want to shy away from the hard stuff. Here we've got The Things We Do for Love by Kristen Hanna. This is almost my last Kristen Hanna. I have read all of her books. This was maybe the second to last one I need to read in order to read all of the books she's ever written. Amazing. This one was one of her contemporaries. I think I found that I enjoy her historical fiction a little bit more than her contemporaries, but I still enjoyed this story nonetheless. This one, we follow a woman named Angie. She is in the middle of a divorce with her husband, and so she decides to move out and go live with her family back in her hometown. She is also going to help her family try to revive their restaurant. They own this Italian restaurant. They're this Italian family that has these traditional recipes and stick to the way things were and should be. Anyway, she goes back to her hometown, works in the restaurant, and then also strikes up a relationship with a young woman, kind of becomes a mentor figure to her. Her name is Lauren. Lauren comes from a rough situation. She doesn't know who her father is, and her mom is just kind of fighting to stay afloat. She is a hairdresser, but isn't really going to work and struggles with alcoholism. So Lauren is this bright young woman. She is on a scholarship at a private high school, and she has big plans for her future after graduation. And something happens. And I'm not going to say anything else, but Angie plays an integral part in Lauren's life and how she is going to overcome the obstacles that face her. I enjoyed the relationships. I enjoyed the found family for Lauren, a girl who was never able to feel loved by her own mother, was able to find a family in Angie's family. So I really, really enjoyed that. While I could kind of tell what was going to happen from the first 20 pages of the book, I still enjoyed my time with it. Another good Kristen Hanna. She never really does me wrong. Our last 4-star of the evening. Sorry, it's evening when I'm recording. Maybe it's not evening for you. This is Love and Color by Bolu Babalola. This is mythical tales from around the world retold. This was really, really fun. So Babalola says in her introduction that she loves love and she wanted to talk about the many iterations of love through different folk tales from around the world. And so we just get many short stories. I believe there's like 10 to 15 short stories in here about love and the folk tale, but she puts a spin on it. They are set in contemporary times. It was just really, really fun. There were a few stories that I really, really enjoyed in this, just to name them: Autem, Ginu, and Tiara. Those are my favorites. I think the overall theme was that just love binds us together and propels us forward. Really, really fun short story collection that I would recommend. Now we're on to the 4.5 stars. I don't know which one to talk about first. Let's do maybe the slightly easier one with The Heart Principle by Helen Wong. This is a romance, but it is not light and fluffy whatsoever. There are some difficult topics in this book. This is the third in her series. The Kiss Quotient was the first, The Bride Test was the second, and The Heart Principle is now the third. I actually didn't read The Bride Test, don't tell anyone, but I loved The Kiss Quotient, and so my sister lent me her copy of The Heart Principle. In this one we're following Anna. She is a professional violinist, but she is struggling with performance anxiety, and she's going to therapy for this, but she cannot get through a certain piece that she needs to play for her next performance. Her longtime boyfriend decides that he wants to have an open relationship and make sure that they should be together for life. And so they decide to go their separate ways. Anna is really not set on this, but she's going to do it because she just feels awkward about it. And she decides, from the advice of her therapist, who tells her to just be unapologetically her, she decides to go on a dating app and have a one-night stand with someone she finds attractive. She matches up with a boy named Kwan. They go on a date, and Anna has an anxiety attack. She cannot deal with it, but Kwan is just so understanding. He's like, let's just go back to our respective houses and watch a movie and text each other while we're watching the same movie. He's just like so lovely and lets Anna deal with the things she needs to deal with without being pushy about it. As their relationship is starting, Anna gets a diagnosis from her therapist that she has autism, which she's like a upper 20s, lower 30s woman, and she's never heard this before. So this really throws her for a loop, but it helps her understand some of the things that are going on in her life, and unfortunately her family doesn't understand the diagnosis, but Kwan does, and so she is able to find comfort in this relationship with this new man. All the while, poor Anna, a lot of things are going on in her life. Her father has a massive stroke, and she is forced to be his caregiver along with her sister and her mother. And it's just, I mean, a lot for this poor girl. An autism diagnosis, performance anxiety, her boyfriend wanting to be in an open relationship, and her father struggling with medical issues. So it's a lot. It's hard topics going on, but there's this beautiful romance that buds from it too. So I really, really liked this one. I don't know why it wasn't quite 5 stars, but it just didn't quite hit that mark for me. Still really fun, and was able to be fun even though there were difficult things going on. It just felt real. Speaking of hard stuff going on, the last book I need to talk about in this wrap-up is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I gave this 4.5 stars. Reason being, it just got a little long toward the end. I feel like this author is a beautiful writer and is able... The viewfinder is catching this man's face as a face. That's gonna be distracting. Hanya Yanagihara knows how to write her characters and makes the reader fall in love with her characters. I feel like I was friends with Jude and JB and Willem and Malcolm. How can I remember these 4 names and I read this book 2 weeks ago? It's because Hanya Yanagihara makes you love the characters and dive deep into their lives. So it's about these 4 friends who met in college, and they become the best of friends. After college, they all move to New York City to live out their lives. One is an artist, one is an architect, one is a lawyer. What's the other? an actor. So they all are like living their lives, doing what they want to do. But three of them don't know the background of Jude. Jude never talked about his childhood, his upbringing, and it was just kind of like a thing we don't talk about. One of the friends, Willem, gets really close to Jude and learns about Jude's past, and it is just tragic. It causes so much trauma for Jude, and I mean, this poor man. I can't even fathom. So, it's a beautifully written book. I loved the characters, but it's very, very sad and definitely a story that will stick with me for a long, long time. I docked it a half star just because toward the end, I knew what was going to happen, and everybody kind of knew what was going to happen in their lives, and it just kind of like stretched out for a little bit too long. I thought, I mean, dear goodness, this is an 800-page book. So I just think it could have been edited down a little bit. Anyway, these are the books that I read in September, minus Project Hail Mary, Kindred, and Lou. Let me know if you have read any of them and what your thoughts were. Did you agree with me? Did you disagree with me on my thoughts? Let me know. It'd be great to have some bookish conversation with you in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Like this video on your way out. Consider subscribing to my channel if you'd like to see more bookish and bullet journaling content from me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!